title and sort of certifying in the future. And that is what brought me here. I have to be here because I have to say this is the most significant concept and conference on the international calendar around moving sustainable education forward. So I need to extend my congratulations to the conference organizers and colleagues in Europe to be here. So thank you very much.
I think we are gathering here because open education is that challenge of the future of education. Actually, we have gone through some of these phases of opening the institutions, and we are coming now to the borders to really be asked the question, so how do we do it actually? How do we open this education?
These children here, do they deserve a good education? Give me an example, give me a response. Do they deserve a good education?
Yes.
Yes. What about these children? Do they deserve a good education?
Yes.
And yet they don't get it.
But the interesting thing is the marginal cost of replicating digital knowledge is near zero.
Phrasing in the third line, materials and pedagogic practices, which defines resources in a less legalistic copyright character.
But the movement of open educational resources and practices is coming, and we see it everywhere, and it's really timely that we all look at it seriously. And for us coming from EFQUEL, it's important to have the quality aspects into this and to embrace the development, because open educational resources will open up educational communities for all of the groups that are left behind.
If we have the technology today to provide free learning opportunities to all students worldwide, why would we deny them that access?
And one of my questions is, we seem to be talking mostly, I know not exclusively, but mostly, about creating new open educational resources for access to education. But can we really call this equity when we are creating an alternative to an education system which remains closed, which remains inaccessible? This isn't really equality of opportunity, it's creating extra opportunities for people who weren't enabled to have the first sector.
The present formal system excludes far too many people. People are not able to access learning. If we are going to survive as a country and our economy is going to develop in the digital age, our population must be digitally competent. They must be digitally empowered. It's essential that learning is more distributed and that people know how to learn. If we make that possible, we can thrive in the 21st century.
We know statistically that over the next 15 years from UNESCO's data, that the post-secondary education sector will need to provide an additional 98 million places for learning, and the majority of these learners will not have the privilege of a formal education.
Teachers felt that they did not have either the time or the capacity to locate, adapt and repurpose OER relevant to their work. Learners felt that OER should be fully open, half open didn't help them, and materials should be accessible on alternative technologies such as mobile devices. Technical support people said there were no standard practices in the packaging and reuse of OER. Somebody was using some package, something was different. And management was concerned about the challenges relating to intellectual property and copyright issues. Concerns regarding competition and revenues were also raised as they were in the earlier presentation.
So to get people excited about coming on board is basically to say that this is not going to stop if larger service providers or publishers or national governments or associations decide to ignore it, it will happen. So I think it's almost a reverse of motivation, basically saying that you would be wise to think about how to include free provision of software and education resources in your business model.
In contrast to people thinking that making OERs available will be bad in terms of business, the opposite has happened. In fact, it's resulted in more students, because students get a taster of the courses through the existing free OER and then choose to sign up to get support and accreditation through the OU and other institutions. Also, our iTunes initiative has been phenomenally successful, and I think therefore there's a lot that traditional campus-based universities can also learn in terms of how to create and promote their courses through open education resources.
If you combine this as well with the notion that if 10 institutions, for example, collaborate together on the development of course materials, activities that are based entirely on OER, it is in fact significantly cheaper than doing that alone.
The only way of discovering the limits of the possible is to venture a little way past them into the impossible, and I want to try and take you with me on that journey this morning.
The example of the Brazilian government earlier in the summer, who were, at least in one region I know, where they have now said that all state-employed teachers, everything they produce at work must be openly available with a Creative Commons license. That's the way to get the issue up in the open. Of course it's a bit of force, but you're saying, if you're a state employee, you're paid by taxpayers' money, what you do in working time is owned by the people.
You say top-down policy to be implemented, I'm not so sure that the people ask that. They have very concrete concerns, and I would listen there. As a response, I'm not a policy maker, response must be given to a very concrete problem, and I'm dealing with the problem of how you can concretely implement ICT to provide better learning, and I would say do it. Let's do it, let's showcase it, and let's spread it around and offer to the policymakers the possibility to learn from all those exciting practices.
Another argument for saying that actually we have to adapt and reform our education and training systems in Europe is actually the argument that our qualification schemes in the future are changing, and we need actually more and more high qualified jobs, and there you see a prediction.
So that basically means that you have to look at changing curricula, changing assessment, changing teacher training, involving school leaders, and also looking at, for example, content and open educational research. So for me it's actually part of a broader package which actually drives us to reconsider education and training and learning in Europe and worldwide.
First of all, we recognize that quality in learning is not something that we can approach in a mechanistic way. Quality contains a substantial subjective perspective, requires anthropological studies to understand what is quality for me and is not quality for you, what is quality in a given learning context and is not quality in another.
It's not incidental that I place the concept of quality at the top of the triangle, because this is in fact the biggest challenge we are facing internationally in being able to provide high quality learning experiences for all learners worldwide. It's simply a philosophy which we call open philanthropy. What that means is everything that we do openly and transparently.
The statement was, in education, what can be free will be free. And I think you're already seeing that in learning platforms, in some advisory services, and also in educational content. So this ship is taking off.